Transfer portal updates.
Mm,
It giveth and it taketh, and ooh, it tooketh. Cayden
dang.
Green entering the transfer portal, an absolute shocker. Doesn't sound like, from the people that you and I have talked to, doesn't sound like any of the coaches had any idea this was coming. Doesn't sound like his teammates knew this was coming. Ted, I've got a lot of information on kind of what happened here, but I'm not even sure what to say as far as Cayden, because if you would have said, give me a list of you guys that you think something like this would happen with, Cayden Green and his personality, it would have been very far down the list.
Yeah.
So it's, it's extremely interesting. We've talked a lot about the portal entries for OU this cycle and them not feeling like big, significant losses. Well, this one does. It feels big. It feels significant.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the type of player that he is and will be, just finished. Well, I guess we would have had the bowl, but true freshman, all the signs are there that this is going to be a dominant football player. And the exact type of interior offensive lineman that you want going to the SEC. Like, that's the guy. That's the guy you clone. Right? Give us all the interior offensive linemen that look and play exactly like this. And, that's number one. The second part is, well, he leaves. We were saying, okay, well, we're losing a bunch of guys off the offensive line, but at least Cayden Green, a 7-game starter for you, is coming back. Losing your left and right tackle, losing your right guard, losing your center. He was kind of that spot. And I know Sexton came in and played the end of the season at the right tackle spot and did good, but like, really, he was your lone starter that was returning. And now he's gone too. Now, I'm confident that Beanbo and Venables are going to be able to put together a solid group for next year. Don't exactly know what that's going to look like at the moment, but I'm confident they're going to do it. We've had a lot of success there, but I don't think we'll be replacing Cayden Green, at least not in the near term.
So it'll be difficult. I've obviously talked a lot about how excited I am about Cayden Green's future and what I think he can be, especially as a guard. And you just don't see things like this happen around the country very often. You see really good G5 linemen jump into the portal and create a bidding war amongst Power 5 teams. But we see that quite a bit. You don't see a guy that just started a bunch of games as a true freshman for a blue blood program jump into the portal. There's definitely something strange going on here. And so maybe the best places to start is here. OU's NIL program is running pretty dang efficiently right now, especially as you compare to where they were at a year ago to right now. They have taken a very NFL style approach to the way that they're distributing NIL dollars, right? They look at what are the most valuable positions in the National Football League, and they look at NIL valuations from multiple different sources. They've got their own people that are watching, a bunch of the portal guys, and they kind of slot these guys. It's very organized. I've seen it. It's very organized. And basically, they've got a priority list. Clearly, Bowman Stutzman, very high on the priority list. Got that taken care of. Cayden Green was very high on that priority list. And basically what I was told was that Cayden and his parents met with the people handling the NIL situation, and they had some demands. And the collective was willing to meet those demands. Cayden met with BV after that initial conversation. And then kind of some of the tone of the conversation kind of changed, where Cayden went to the collective people and said, I'm not signing for less than X. And the collective went, okay, discussed it. And they got to X. They got to the dollar amount that he asked for. And they sent Cayden the contract. And this is where it gets really strange, man. The only reason anyone really knew that Cayden Green was about to bounce was a staff member was driving by Headington Hall and saw him pushing a cart of his stuff to his car from Headington Hall and pulled over and was like, what's up, man? Like, what's going on? And from what I understand, he was like, you need to talk to my dad. Another staff member came over, had a conversation like, hey, man, collective got to X. You asked for X. We're there. What's the deal? He's like, well, I haven't seen the contract. Contract gets sent over. Staff member shows him the contract. There's X. It's on the sheet, buddy. You got to talk to my dad. Called his dad. No answer. It's weird, man. It's really weird. It feels it. There is a conversation. I'm going to. I promised I would not say the number, so I ain't saying it. But what OU's collective offered him, the number he asked for that they got to, the contract with that number on they sent him, I believe it would quite possibly make him the highest paid offensive guard in college football next year. And this is a guy that he played okay. He wasn't a dominant player. He was a true freshman that did some really nice things. They were about to give him a boatload of money, and a lot of it was based on like what you're going to be, which is part of how you have to handle all this stuff. But I find it incredibly hard to believe that there are a lot of schools out there giving an offensive guard more money for one season than what OU's collective offered Cayden Green. So for everyone out there that's going, oh, how could we fumble the bag? Listen, man, it's a ton of money for one season for an offensive guard. Clearly, there are some other things going on here. So if you want to be bad at OU's NIL operation, go ahead. But the number that I know was offered is there could only be maybe a handful of interior offensive linemen in college football that would be getting more money for that for one season than that.
Well, and the important thing is they gave him what he asked for.
Oh, and not only do you get what you're asked for, you're being coached by, you ask any NFL team, give me your best offensive line coaches in college football. Bill Bedenbaugh is going to be at the start of a lot of those lists. He's going to be the first, second, third name on a lot of people's lists.
Proof is there. There's a ton of his players in the league and actively playing for a bunch of teams. I mean, it's...
And Bedenbaugh does not play the NIL game. It is not a conversation he wants to have. He pushes that to the collective people who got to the number that he asked for.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It sounds to me like he got offered a huge number. They said yes. When I say they, I guess I mean his dad said yes. Um,
And I just so you know, his dad listens to this podcast
okay.
because he would message me quite often about what I said about Cayden.
Well,
So,
sounds like
Mr. Green, hey, come on, tell us what's up. Here's your invitation to come on.
well, I don't know. From that information, it sounds like this is what I'm guessing. They got offered a big number, took it, and then took the number to OU thinking that they would maybe scoff at it or not get there or whatever. And whenever they matched it, it didn't even matter because the deal was already done. That's what it sounds like to me, based
I,
off of the story that you told, right?
I this is how everything was relayed to me that people were heavily involved in these conversations.
Like, if you say, I need to get to this number or I'm gone, and they get to that number and you're still gone, it sounds to me like you already made the deal. It already happened.
I
But I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
mean, I guess it's frustrating because I and I don't know. I'm not behind those. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not. I mean, I know how beaten Bo coaches. He's tough. Well, that's how coaches coach. That's how good coaches are. I mean,
You're
I don't
not going to
know.
find an offensive line coach in the
No,
country that's worth a shit that isn't mean to you.
demanding, absolutely. Um, I, he played. Now, I've heard people say, "Well, what if he wanted to play tackle?" Well, they'd play him at tackle.
Bill played him at tackle all spring and all
Yeah,
training camp. The reason he was playing guard was they felt good about the tackle spots with Guyton and Rouse, and they did not feel good about Savion Byrd. So they put Cayden Green at guard. It makes
yeah,
all the sense in the world. Get your best five on the field.
yep. And
If you want to be paid tackle money, guess what? You got to play some tackle. You got to show us. Hey, let's talk next year. If you think you're a tackle, you think you deserve offensive, high end offensive tackle money in college football, which just sounds crazy coming out of my mouth. We're still getting used to all this, people. But you have to prove you can do it. Playing it in spring ball and in training camp means nothing. Playing it on Saturdays in the SEC, you show you can do it then okay, let's talk. You will be compensated for the production. I
well, here's the
miss
other
me
thing
with
too.
he wanted to play tackle. You're right. Bill would have moved him to tackle.
Yeah, that's
It's that
that's easy.
simple.
It's easy conversation. Now, here's the other thing too, and again, I'm only commenting off of what I've seen. I don't know the whole story, but and I hate this part of it because I love everything that Cayden Green was about. That
I,
ain't how you negotiate.
no,
That ain't how you negotiate. That's how cowards negotiate. That's how cowards negotiate. If people who have invested a lot of time and resources and attention into making you a better player, into bringing you along and uh, shoot, like making you a captain, like I don't know. There's a lot of people up there that invested a lot of time, money, effort into trying to help him grow him into the best player he can become, to where he can make a lot of money in NIL across the country. And whenever you're having thoughts of leaving or feel like you're worth more, there's a way to have a conversation. There's a way to negotiate a contract. This is how cowards negotiate a contract. You make demands, the demands are met, and you turn your phone off, you turn your communication off. That ain't how you do it. At least that's not how I've ever seen anyone do it.
it feels very out of character for Cayden Green.
That's the thing. That's what's very strange to me.
So I definitely think there are other people that are more responsible for how this played out than Cayden.
And it sounds like their phones are turned off.
So we'll see where he ends up. That's the thing. I talked to people at Mississippi State. Cayden coming there? No. What the hell's going on? Do you know where he's going? I talked to people at Colorado. Hey, were you guys able to poach Cayden Green? No, man. We don't know what the hell's going on. We think he's going to Missouri. I talked to people at Missouri. We think it's Oregon. So I don't know. It's a strange situation, man.
I
I
don't know.
the From a football standpoint, there's just no doubt this is a significant loss for Oklahoma. Now, do I trust Bill Bedenbaugh to put together a really good offensive line? Absolutely. But this was a guy that
He's the
I
anchor.
thought was going to be a leader. He's kind of a choir guy, didn't say much, but I thought he was going to develop that. I thought he was going to become more vocal. Like, it means a lot. You start as a true freshman, and this is why the week to week captain stuff, don't make a true freshman a captain. They haven't earned it. Okay. I was, you know how I felt about that at the time. And it's
Oh, yeah.
nothing against Cayden Green. Just no true freshman deserves to be a captain. But I I'm not going to pretend that this isn't some big loss. This is a guy that I thought was going to be an All-American level player and an early round draft pick. And now he's going somewhere else. We don't know. Maybe Nebraska? I don't know. But the way that this all went down it's strange. And it's unfortunate, and this is the first time something like this has happened to Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm still pulling for Cayden Green. I think he's going to be an excellent player. I wish him all the success, and I know he's going to have success wherever he goes. I think he's that type of guy. Uh, I don't know where it's going to be, but he, it seems to me, and again, I'm only operating off of the story that I heard. It seems massively disrespectful the way that it all went down, and that seems very out of character for him. And I don't know. There's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things, and I just to turn your back, shut down communication on the program that as much as they've done for you. I don't understand that, and I don't think it's coming from Cayden. Maybe it is. I don't know, but sounds like people around him, and that to me is the worst part of the whole thing. I mean, come on, you, you show nothing at all towards the program. Has spent a year working with you. I don't know. It's frustrating. Again, that's how cowards communicate, and that's how cowards negotiate. Frankly, they don't. They turn the phone off because they're scared to say it. Man up and say it.
This is my hope. And maybe Cayden Green ends up back at OU and we all go, this is awkward. But that would surprise me at this point with how this went down. But I I hope he's getting a lot, because, and if it's Missouri, if it was one of those things where it's like, hey, I want to be closer to home, and it's not like Kansas City and Norman are really far apart, but if you want to say that, but okay, they're giving me a ton of money, I get to live closer to home, I get to be closer to my family, okay, but like you said, you just got to say it,
Yeah,
you
just
just
say
got to be
it.
upfront.
Hey, pick up the phone. Listen, I want to be closer to my family. I appreciate what you guys did. You made a good offer. Uh, got another offer out there. Want to be closer. Like to coach more. Like the uniforms that they wear more. Say something. There's got to be a little back and forth, and maybe they did. Like I don't know. Again, this is going off of the information that I've heard.
The way that it was told to me is it kind of seemed like he just tried to disappear without telling anyone, which that ain't it, man.
No.
And you and I feel like, and I feel like we have absolutely acknowledged the type of loss this is for the football team with what
Mm-hmm.
we've done here. But you and I are also the ultimate. If he doesn't want to be here, all right, see you, man. Especially for the number that they offered him. See you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, first,
So
like, are you sure you don't want to? Okay, no, then
yeah,
all
no,
right.
there was definitely like if he would have called me, I'd been like, no, please stay. What are we doing? But it is, yeah. And now these people are saying, well, you got to let Beanbo go now. What? All the guy does is develop offensive linemen and put them in the NFL. I don't know what else you want, people, but
Yeah, especially whenever you're going into the SEC, whenever you have 0 returning starters. Let's maybe hold off on looking for a new offensive line coach.
yeah, especially one of the most highly respected offensive line coaches in the country.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
that has a tremendous relationship with the new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people just don't think through some of these things, but there is no doubt the offensive line has to be addressed. I mean, there's just no doubt. So you want to build that group with high school recruits, right, and develop those guys. But we've seen the Sooners dip into the portal the last couple of years and plug guys in, and you already got Spencer Brown coming from Michigan State. We'll see how it all ends up fitting together, but as you start to look, and even the Alamo Bowl, you start looking at that game going, okay, who are the 5 guys going to be? But you start looking towards next year, got to replace all 5 starters.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Back to the Stutzman, Bowman, and Ethan Downs deal. Like, I have no doubt that Beanbo and Venables are going to build a good offensive line, and they're going to add some really good players probably through the transfer portal. But it's not the same as whenever it's grown organically from your high school recruited players, right? And that's, you're seeing what Stutzman and those guys have brought. That's what you were hoping to get from Cayden Green. Recruited, developed, anchor, cultural, piece for your football team, build the locker room. That's what you were hoping for with him. And the last thing, like, think about the not dangerous, I don't know the right word for it, but the precedent that we've got going on right now. They have to get some type of legislation in place with the transfer portal. It has to happen. You cannot continue playing this sport at this level where everyone on your team can leave after 1 year. You just can't do that. It's stupid.
It goes back to what Charlie Baker suggested with the new subdivision of Division 1. If they do that, then they can set a new rule.
They could set a new rule today too, though.
No,
Remember,
I hear you.
it wasn't very long ago where you couldn't transfer and you would miss a year of eligibility, and then one conference waived it and everyone else was like, oh my God, we got to do it too. And everyone waived it.
Well, you know exactly what will happen if they try to do it again. They're going to get sued into oblivion. Oh, you're restricting our earning potential. You know how it'll go. And Kavanaugh made it pretty clear. The NCAA will lose. So I don't know, man. This is the first one for Oklahoma where I saw it and I went, damn, that is painful. But other schools have been through this. This is just the first one we've had that felt like a gut punch, that felt this significant. And the portal giveth and the portal taketh, man. This is college
Yeah.
football. This is
Yeah.
college football right now. This is how things work.
It shouldn't work this way.
I
And
I'm with you.
I know and I know they're probably trying, but it's impossible to ever get anyone in agreement in college football because there's way too many schools, and like it's so competitive that before you ever get anyone to agree on everyone on things, everyone's like, well, maybe the transfer portal's good for us. It's been good for us the last couple of years. We kind of like it. We want to keep it. I mean, I don't know. It's tough. But at the end of the day, where does that money come from for these NIL deals? It comes from the fans. Where does that money come from that gets pumped into the programs, the massive payouts from the networks? Well, that comes from the fans too, right? All of it in one form or another is generated by the people that are watching the sport. And if you poll the people watching the sport, I would bet 80% of them think the transfer portal sucks, right? And until those 80% start to make their opinion heard, then it won't change. But when they do, it will change.